Hello, sweet friends, and welcome. This is Gina, and you are at the Rebookery channel. What you are looking at right here is a bin full of chalk markers. So these markers are Arteza markers. That's the brand. And this company had contacted me before Christmas and asked if I would be willing to accept a couple of their products and then do a video review on them. And I absolutely said yes, I would love to, because I had been very intrigued. I had seen this brand of art supplies. I had seen a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of other artists were doing reviews and doing like posts and stuff of products that they had projects that they had made using their products. So I chose the Arteza Chalk Markers, and I believe it comes in a set of 48. I will link it below so that you will know exactly what set they sent me. They also sent me a set of gouache paint, which is like an opaque watercolor. And I'll be honest, I haven't even tried it yet because I'm a little intimidated. So I think in this video, I'm going to focus on stuff that I know, which is markers, because I do know some markers. So I am going to show you guys how I've been using them. I've used them now for probably about 3 weeks. And so I've learned some stuff about them. So I'll show you some projects that I've done, and then we'll do some testing of some of the markers. I'll show you what I really like about these markers. So this is not the package that it came in. It came in a box. And then once I got the box, I took the box apart, and then I just went ahead and put all my markers in a bin. This is kind of where I have all of my big fat markers, and I just kind of keep them in here. So let's talk about what I really think is cool about these markers, and then we'll test them out. When I got these markers, one of the cool things about them was that I love that they have a see-through cylinder. So let me see if I can pull one out here that you can see what I'm talking about. This allows you to see the actual paint that is in the marker, the cylinder, and there's a ball inside of there, a ball bearing, and so that helps when you go to shake them up. And so when I have them sitting here, here's one that you can see where there is actual paint liquid in here, and you can see where there's not right here. So I love being able to see the liquid because that's kind of cool. You don't typically see inside of markers. And as I use these, I'll be able to see when they become empty. So that was something I really loved, is I love being able to see through the cylinder and see how much paint I still have in there. The other thing that I loved about this was that it came with packages of replaceable nibs, replaceable tips to the markers. This is paramount when you are working with markers in mixed media. One of my biggest, I don't know, mess ups, I guess, is learning about using markers on top of other media like paint and gesso and watercolor, and just learning what works, what doesn't work. But the biggest error I have made, and I make it over and over again, is I will go over something that is maybe not completely dry, or it's very chalky, or it's very oily, like with an oil pastel, and it will clog up my pen tip, and then the marker, it does not matter how much ink is in there, the marker is dead. It's dried up, and you cannot, well, it acts like it's dried up, but it's clogged up. So this is genius. They send you extra tips or nibs, if you want to call them. And whoops, they have two different points. So there is just a pointed side, and then there is also like a chisel side. And that is amazing. And I haven't used them enough so that I would have to change out any of the tips. But oh man, I cannot wait, because that makes me know that I'm going to be able to use this marker until there is no more juice left in the cylinder, because I won't have to worry about gumming up or clogging up those tips, and I can easily replace them. So I love that. They also sent me in the package, when you buy this box, they will send you these stickers, and They're like label stickers, kind of like, this is like a glossy type of a finish. This is more of a matte type of a finish. It's got a little bit of texture to it. And so there's lots of different things that they want you to write on. And these could be used like stencils because they're cut out in the center. So labels and some numbers and then just some different images. So that's kind of cool. So my first play around with these guys was I took my junk journal. So let me show you what I did. Okay, so I took my good old junk journal that I've been working in that is oh so full. And I found a page that didn't have anything on it. So this was, this is a card. I had stuck it in the center of the journal, and it actually, like, here's the card part that, this was an old card. So, okay, so here's what I did. This is the front cover, this is the back cover. So I sat down one morning and I just started taking markers and I just started writing all over this. And I wrote all kinds of words. I wrote all kinds of different directions. I used different fonts. So I would do some print, I would do some cursive, and different size. And I just kept going until I covered the whole page. And I loved this. This was amazing. I love these markers. There's nothing that comes off. Like, I'm rubbing on it and there's nothing that comes off. So, and it was a textured surface. It was also a very matte surface, and it had some tooth to it. So they worked wonderfully on this. So you can see the colors. Look how bright they are. Now, this little pink line right here, this was not an Arteza marker. I actually went back through with a gel pen, and I went and added just some of this detail. But the big thick lines, that was definitely the marker, and I was just so impressed. And it was so cool how I could write over, like they went, I don't know if you guys can tell or not, but the way they would write over each other was just, it was so cool because it would block out, but it wouldn't bleed through, like it wouldn't mix with what was already underneath, but it would block it out. And so I was in love with this. I love markers, and I'm always on the hunt to find that perfect marker. And paint pens are typically what I like to use, but these guys were called chalk markers. And so I thought, well, I'll just give them, I'll give them a whirl, and we'll see how it does. And I was so impressed. Love them, love them, love them. Okay, so this was what I did at first, and you can see here's where I did some dots and stuff, and that was just because I was trying to get the ink activated. So let me show you how to get the ink activated. Let's take just a white piece of paper here. This is just some like a copy paper type of a weight, and I don't even know what brand it is. It will work just fine. And then let's take a marker. This is khaki. And so it's got the directions right here. That's another thing that I have experienced with markers and paint pens in the past, is that in order to get it to activate, you really need to follow the instructions very well. Sometimes if you pump too much, they won't work. They'll get clogged. Sometimes if you don't pump enough, they'll get clogged. And so I have had struggles with paint pens and paint markers for the last few years, just trying to figure out which ones I like the best. These were so easy to activate. And it shows you right here how to do it. First you shake, then you pump, then you draw. So I'm gonna shake, and then I can see that my tip is still the khaki color, like not the khaki color of the ink, but it's the color of the actual tips that came with it. So I know the ink is not activated. And so all I did was I just pumped, not too hard. It's just enough to press in. There's a little mechanism inside of here that you are kind of opening up when you do this. And as you open it up, the paint will then go through the fibers. There we go. The fibers of the tip. And so now it's activated. And so it is ready to use. Oh, look at that. That is yum-alicious. And then if I go ahead and draw my finger through it, you can see that it smudges a little bit, but that was pretty soon after I did it. Let's give it a few seconds. Let me try again. A little bit more smudging. A little bit more smudging. So it's gonna take a little bit of time to dry, and that's what I want to show you guys. I want to work these markers so that you can see their full potential. And I think what I'll do is I'll zoom in just a little bit here, because there's nothing worse than going out and spending money on art supplies and then realizing you didn't really like them. Okay, so this is one I've already activated, and you can see I'm going to go through here, and it's not dragging the khaki with it. That's keeping the colors separate, and that's a huge thing. So this one I have not activated, so we'll activate this one. This is mid yellow. So we'll follow the instructions. We'll just shake, and then we will pump until we can get it to, let me just run my fingers through this. Yeah, so the khaki is dry. Now my red's smearing a little bit, but the khaki is dry. And when I made that page in my junk journal, I just, like, I didn't stop and let the layers dry. I just kept going. So it wasn't like I had to wait a long time for it to dry. I felt like it dried fairly quickly. Of course, I didn't go run my fingers through it like I did here. Okay, I can start to see the ink, which means I'm filling up that tip. All right, cool. And so now, look at that bold color. That is just, and that's yellow, and that is just such a bold color. I love that. And we'll go through. You can see how it's totally opaque as it goes over the khaki. Let's try the red. It's opaque as it goes through. It looks like it kind of pulled the red a little bit, and I can see a little bit of red on this tip, but not much. Like that, and maybe that was still a little wet, but there's no bleed through there, and it's totally opaque. I'm loving that. So they are opaque. Woo! Okay. So that's how you get them going, and that's how they get started. So now let's try one of these labels that they sent with us. So this is like a vinyl, okay? And I'm interested in this because vinyl is typically not going to be something that a lot of mediums like to stick through because this is like a polymer, this is like plastic. So let's try and see what happens here. So let's see if this one's activated. Ooh, it is. Ooh, that's a yummy, yummy blue. What is the name of this one? Pool Blue. All right, here we go. Let's try this out. Okay, so I can tell it is going on super wet. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do this now. I don't want you to freak out. So I'm able to smear it, and you can see it's totally beating up right here. So this leads me to believe that this is gonna have to, on this type of a surface, if I want my marks to stay the way that I put them on there, I'm gonna have to let this dry for a while, okay? So let's try it. Quite honestly, I like this effect right here. So let's try this. Let's put some lines, and then we'll let it sit, and we'll come back to it. Let's see how long it takes for this to dry. Okay, so there we go. We've got some lines right here. Let's let this sit for a while. I'm not going to use my heat gun because I want to see how long it's going to actually, how long it'll actually take. But then you can see that there was some beads right there. I'm running my finger through that. It doesn't look like I'm picking anything up. So let's see what happens with that. So here's one of my journals that I've been working in and doing just a lot of playing around with art supplies. And I don't want to smudge this, so we'll put it over here. Just playing around with a lot of art supplies. I've used a lot of like swatching and stuff just to see what colors, like there's some swatches of some paints and things like that. And just playing around with different marks and things like that. Different types of paper. This is a grocery sack. This is watercolor paper. And this is fabric. So I think let's try these on a couple of different surfaces and see how see how they work. So this is a piece of like some canvas or something. It was some scrap fabric that I had. It's kind of thick. And what I did was I put a coat of clear gesso down here. So this has already been gessoed. So this has been gessoed, but this part up here has not. So this is the raw fabric, and then this is the part that's gessoed. So what I want to do here is I want to compare this marker on the two different surfaces, and let's see how it reacts. So this one's already been activated. So I'm going to draw right on the clear gesso, okay? And then I'm gonna go through and smear. I can smear just a little bit, but not too much. And boy, that makes a nice crisp image. Now I'm gonna go straight over the fabric. Okay, so the difference, and I can see it, and I don't know if you can, there's a little bit more bleeding with just the fabric. So this, and that would make total sense because this has been primed and this has not been primed. So yeah, I mean, there's no surprises there. I like how it acts on both of those things. Now let's look over on the back side. So on the back side, I can see that where I did not put the gesso, it bled through. Where I did put the gesso, I can actually see a little bit of shadowing, but that's not the marker's fault. That's more of just my gesso. Maybe I just didn't put a good layer there. And again, I'm not trying to tell if it's good or bad. I just want to test it to see how it reacts on different surfaces. So that's pretty cool. I'm liking that. I love how that image is so crisp on top of that gesso. Okay, let's go back and let's try this. All right, are you ready? Let's see. And I pushed pretty hard, guys. Look at that. So it does do really well on vinyl. Yeah, and I'm scratching it with my nail. It does really well on vinyl. Let's try. It's opaque. It didn't drag anything. That's awesome. And the reason why that's awesome is because I love to use wallpaper, and the wallpaper that I like to use is like 1980s, like 1990s wallpaper, and it has this same surface. There's a lot of vinyl in that time period of wallpaper, and so this means that it will work on my wallpaper whenever I'm using it in my junk journals. So that's awesome. That's really cool. I like that. And again, I like this effect, how I rubbed through here and it kind of softened up that black. So it's really cool. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so something else I want to try. So we've tried it on regular paper, we tried it on gessoed fabric, and then we tried it on plain fabric. So now what I want to do is I want to try and see what water does when we put it on this marker, because that's one of my things. Whenever I use paint pens, chalk markers, gel pens, they're always my detail work. They are not my bottom layer. This is like my top layer. This is like my icing on my cake. So they're always going to go on last. And that means they're the ones that are on top. That means they're the ones that you really see at first. And I want to see if it's going to stay. So let's take some water and let's go through and see if I can pull any of this paint. Okay, so I can see I'm pulling a little bit of the yellow, pulling a little bit. If I keep going over this, I'm pulling a little bit of the blue. Yeah, I can pull with that khaki, but this, I'll be honest, guys, this is a lot of water. I'm using a lot of water here, and I've gone over this quite a bit. So, yeah, it will pull up with water, but again, I had to use quite a bit of water, and bled through a little bit, and I swiped over it several times. So, if I did that, so I can reactivate it with water. So, that tells me that this is not really going to be permanent. I could make it permanent by putting maybe some gel medium over the top of it. I could also put some clear gesso over the top of it, but when I do that, I would have to do it really quickly, and I would have to be very intentional with my brush strokes so that it doesn't drag the color. So let's check it on this. So here we go. Let's get our water again. This is on the gessoed surface. Make sure you guys are in frame here. Okay, there's one swipe with a lot of water. There we go. On the second swipe, that's when I was able to start pulling the green. So, and again, this could be part of your art. Nobody says you have to use markers just for making marks. You can use markers as paint. Put this down on your surface, and then now you start manipulating that paint, and it can become just like using a watercolor or an oil pastel or using acrylic paint. And when you do it on gesso, it's got this, again, gesso is going to give you that substrate to work on. It's going to prime your surface, and it will not allow your paint to be absorbed by the fibers of your paper or fabric. So it kind of rests on top. Now let's do the water on the non-gessoed part. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so multiple swipes, and I'm able to get lots of water, and I'm able to get it to run. Now the difference here is that you can see pulling that paint is a lot different on the fabric that I haven't gessoed versus the fabric I have gessoed. Look how soft that is. And then this just saturates the fabric, and you can see it totally bleeding through on this back side, whereas on this front side, this was protected by gesso, so really all I got was that star image, which actually that's kind of cool in itself. So yeah, and then it bled through over here too. So yeah, I mean, again, it's not right, it's not wrong, it's not good, it's not bad. It's you make your art supplies work for you, not the other way around. You don't have to be limited by what you think a material or a marker or a paint is supposed to do. You make it work for what you want it to do. And so for these guys, I'm loving what I'm coming up with. I'm loving all of these cool new techniques that I'm being able to use, and yeah, I am having so much fun playing with these. Okay, so let's find, here's another page that I did some swatches on. Let's do some swatching here, and we'll do it on the garbage sack, or not garbage sack, I'm sorry, grocery stack. So let's do some swatching on this grocery sack. I'm going to take just a few, and we'll just kind of go through and put down some color. Now, when you swatch, and I know this only because I've been watching so many people do this, when you swatch, you put down your paint, or whatever your color is, and then you want to keep them in whatever order you were working in, so that you can go back and write their names in it. Here we go. Gotta make sure I get them all in the right order. And so then, here's one that's not activated. So then what happens is now you know what the color will look like. And so if you're going and trying to pull some certain colors for an art project or something, you can go and look at your swatches and tell which colors you want. The thing about these markers that makes me not want to spend the time to do that is that they're pretty true to the paint that's on the inside. That is what I have found. Whatever paint I see on the inside of the cylinder is pretty true to the color. Like, I have not seen any differences. So that's kind of awesome, and it saves me some time because I don't have to swatch unless I wanted to. And some people find that swatching is just a very therapeutic process, and it becomes a great background. So I'll swatch a few. I like these blues and greens, and that's another thing. There was a ton of colors, more than I will ever use. I love them, love them, love them, love them. So this is like, what green is this? This is just green. So that one's kind of cool. And then here's this one right here. We'll tuck this into the side. Ooh, that's kind of a limey green. What's that one? Mint green. And I thought I had one more in here. This is more of, what's this one called? Shamrock green. Yeah, I was going to say something like an emerald green. But yeah. And so even on the darker sack paper that I have here, these colors are still pretty bright, and they're doing a really good job of popping off the paper. So let's try a pink here. There we go. I always forget to shake my markers before I work with them. So yeah. So here's the thing, guys. I love these. I would say if you are in the market for some markers, for the price, they are a really good deal. I am hard on my art supplies, and I've put these guys to a lot of testing. I showed you guys a lot of the things that you can do with them, and I think that it would be well worth your money if you were looking for markers. Now here's the downside, as if it, you know, because there's always got to be a downside. And it's not really that bad. I don't think they sell these individually. Like, I think you have to buy the complete package. And so you're going to end up with a lot of markers. So it's not like you could just go buy the colors you want. Oh, here's a purple. You would have to buy a whole pack. But again, I'm in love with these, and I could color with these for years and years and years because there are just so many. Like, look, all of these I haven't even activated yet. Look at all these purples. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. Oh, I found another green. Let's see if we can stick this green. We'll put it right here. Ooh, look at that green. Yeah, so that one's called Spearmint. Ooh. Do it again. There you go. And kind of, there we go. So yeah, I would definitely, yeah, I'm in love with these, and I am so thankful that they sent these to me, and I love playing around with them. I will link everything below. Their website. I will link the actual package that they sent me, and I encourage you to check them out. Like I said, they also gave me a set of gouache, which is Gouache, and it's like a watercolor, but it's opaque, and it's a little bit thicker than a watercolor, but it reacts with water. And I want to do a review on those, but I'm just I'm a little intimidated because, one, I've never used gouache before, and two, there's so many of them that I've got to figure out what's the best way to show you guys and kind of figure out what they can do. So this is what I have for you guys today. I hope you are healthy. I hope you are happy. Be sure to check out the website for these awesome markers, and check out their other supplies. And until next time, I hope you do something creative today. Bye.